Yeah.
Meeting is not streaming. Yeah,
Up
awesome.
above your picture. Yeah.
Yeah, super duper.
Great.
So,
Good.
yeah, I can see. I'm gonna close that. So, welcome, Karen.
Thank you, Evakarin. So nice to be with you.
Yeah, I'm so happy to have you here. And it's so interesting how we met because I was in some kind of challenge. I think that was it. I was in a challenge 2 months ago, and I connected with a lady called Rita, and we had this. We just set up a meeting and chatted, and I think we spoke for 2 hours because we had so much to share. And one thing she talked about was human design, and because I have known about it for a while, and sort of dipped my toes in it, but not more than that, I got interested. And she said she had set up this meeting with this woman that knew a lot about human design. So I was there, and that was when I met you.
Yes.
And and I know from a friend of mine that had been studying human design for a while that it's not that quick to learn. It takes a while to get into it. But I had bought a book, so I knew I was a manifester, and not much more than that, because it was a bit difficult to understand what was written in the book. So I booked a session with you, and you sat with me for a long time and just went through the chart with me. And some parts, it was like acknowledging what I already knew, and other parts was really surprises to me. And what I really took from it was, in certain areas, it made me braver to move forward, because I knew I had the foundation. So it felt, I felt more safe to stand on my feet and walk the path that I had in my mind to walk. But, you know, also
what a great way to put it.
Yeah, well, I had this questions in my mind, like, is this really meant for me? And by you confirming without knowing anything about me, it made me, I can stand better on my ground, so to speak.
Yes.
And I also, before we had the session, I ordered your book.
Oh, thank you.
It's a more simplified version than what I had before.
Okay.
So
that makes sense.
Yeah. So I would like you to just, I know there's some people that know something about human design, and I guess there are people that doesn't know anything. So let's start with the foundation.
Let's start from the beginning.
About the energy, what do you call them?
Energy types.
Types, right.
Right. And actually, I'll start, as you said, with the foundation. And I love the way you spoke about it, because that's such a, it's almost like the foundation of a house, right? Without the foundation of a house, how can you build the upper floors and know that it's going to be stable? And so I love that you called it the foundation, because human design is what we're born with. The chart that I create for people is based on birth information, and it is what we're born with. The interesting thing is that that's our nature, right? That's the nature that we're born with. That's the foundation. That's all the things that you found very confirming, right? And then I was able to add upon that, because there were so many details in human design. Not that you need to know all of them, but they certainly help to advance your view of yourself, right? So
you know,
all, yeah.
One thing that I love to get confirmed was that I am not meant to clean and maintain the house. Yes.
And there are actually 30% of us who are not meant to clean and maintain the house at all. If you know, whenever you can afford it, I say, just please don't do it. Don't do it, or have somebody else in the house do it. It's just not meant for you.
Yeah. I love that.
Yes. So there are 3 energy types that are not supposed to do that at all. And for them, it's such a relief to hear that, you know, that's just such a wonderful thing. Or even that they don't even really have to exercise until they want to, or unless they want to, right? That they don't really need to exercise as much as some other people do, because we all compare ourselves to other people. And yeah, go ahead.
just going to say another thing. If
Yep.
anyone listening now have any questions, please add them in the Facebook chat. I'm going to do the best I can to see what's going on there.
Okay, great. Thank you. So, so again, thanks for having me today to talk a little bit about this. And so I'll just start from the beginning. So human design is a personality assessment tool. It's only been around since 1987, and it actually was discovered or started in Europe, in Ibiza, Spain, in 1987, and at the beginning of 1987. And actually it spread through Europe first. So I'm not surprised that you heard about it at some point, Evakarin, because it's really been much more prevalent in Europe than in other places in the world. Of course, now it's all over the world, but still it's only been about 30 years. So it's not all that well known yet. And we're only just starting to get it into, you know, of course, it works for individuals, it works for couples, it works for business partners. It's only starting to get into corporate environments, which is, we'll have to see how corporate environments exist in the new normal, but that's something that some people are getting into. I came from a corporate background myself, just so the group knows. I've been in corporate for about 30 years or so, and really, you know, kept trying to get promoted in the system, right? And yet I realized after a while that without the voice that I don't have, it was really pretty hard. Whereas, you know, Evakarin, you happen to have a voice and you can be heard in your energy type. My energy type just doesn't. I'm a generator, and I have what we call an open throat, and it's just hard for me to be heard, even if I've had voice lessons and all kinds of speaking things. So so thank you for listening today, because you want to hear this going on. But so human design is that personality tool. It is based on birth information, and from your birth chart, which, shall I show just one, what it might look like? Oh, I can't share the screen, but that's okay.
Screen. No,
I was just going to show something of what it might look like, because then I can refer to the energy centers on the chart as well. But it's based on energy. Human design is based on energy. You come in.
You can share screen now.
Okay, so we come into the world and we are made or created, however you want to call it, to have energy. And we all have energy, and quantum physics tells us that we have energy. And so this is what a chart might look like. This happens to be my chart. And what we come in with is this energy body, right? And through quantum physics, we know that we all are made of energy, and basically all those energy atoms vibrate. And so we're basically this vibrating ball of energy that's born from our mothers when we come into the world. And with human design, we're able to say, oh, so this is what your energy looks like versus somebody else's energy. And so I'll just show your chart, if I may, Evakarin,
yeah, sure.
for a second. And so this is what Evakarin's looks like, and hers is different than mine. And all it is just different types of energy. And so some energy is colored in and some energy is not. And basically when you walk into a room, at least when I walk into a room, this is the energy I show and the energy that people feel for me. And you know, when you walk into a room sometimes and you meet somebody new and you feel like, oh gosh, I could talk to this person forever. And then other times you think, well, I'd really rather not talk to this person anymore. You're just getting a bad feeling about it. That's energy. It's just the interaction of my energy with your energy. And when we are interacting with each other, that's what we feel. And so it really has not a lot to do with how we look, you know, where we're from, what we're up to. It's really about energy. And so if you can kind of, you know, get that idea in terms of what human design shows, basically what we're able to show is your different energy and personality traits in the chart. And it's all based on, I'll just take a step back. Human design is based on a combination of different sciences or different philosophies. So it's based on the ancient side, it's based on the I Ching, the Kabbalah, the chakra system, and both types of astrology, Eastern and Western astrologies. Mm-hmm. And then on the modern side, it's based on quantum physics, biogenetics, and modern math. And so basically the I Ching numbers are what we see on this chart. And these are all the gates that go around the sun. And so we are basically bits and pieces of those energies. And that's what comes into the body. That's what comes into our body. That's what comes into our mother's body as the baby. And then the baby is born. So the nurture is what happens after we're born. The nature is what happens as we're born, right? So any person could be born with a chart similar to mine. Really no two charts are very much alike. I've done the math and there's like 3.5 billion different possibilities. So
Wow.
the possibility that you're going to run into the other person on the planet who has the same chart as you is pretty unlikely. And so the charts that you see are quite different from each other. And so from that, we're able to say, oh, so this is what you might want to do with your life. And this is what you might want to create. And this is what might interest you. You know how children are born and they, you have children, Evakarin, you know how they're born, and especially the younger children now, the ones born since 1987, they come in living their life's purpose. As older people, we actually waited until 50 years old to live our life purpose because we had to learn in the first 50 years and then we basically teach in the next 50. But the children now are coming in knowing their life purpose. And I find that so optimistic, so invigorating, so empowering for both us and for them, because they're the ones who are coming in with the new ideas about how the world should change, about how justice should be, for example, you know, portrayed, how the environment should be taken care of, how the water should be cleaned up, how all these different things should occur. And they're the ones, and I've read articles and I know that this is happening, articles and books, and there's all kinds of wonderful new ways of dealing with these long-term issues that we've had that the children are coming in with. And I say children, but it's anybody less than 32 at this point, right? So anyone 32 years and younger, they're the ones who are going to lead us forward, I believe, into the next generation.
That's interesting. My oldest daughter, she turns 32 in September.
So all your children were born 87 and after?
Yeah.
Right? Okay, good.
Our family.
Just for example, your entire family, was born knowing that they came in with their life purpose, and you might have recognized it, they might have recognized it, that they came in with a particular idea in mind. You know, for example, one of my teachers says that her son knew at 2 years old that he wanted to be a videographer. And in fact, that's what he's wound up being.
2 years old.
Yeah, he, you know, was holding the camera and wanting to take pictures and things like that. And so from a very young age, a lot of children, if they're given the opportunity or the, you know, the wherewithal to try different things, they'll probably find their way to what they really are here to do. So it's really very empowering, I think, for all of us. So,
can you just tell us what it means with the empty, the white spaces and the colored spaces?
Sure. So the chart itself is broken up into 9 different, what we call energy centers. Those are all the geometric shapes on the chart. And what this is, I'll see if I can anyway, there's one at the bottom that you can't quite see there, but there are 9 different energy centers on the chart. Each energy center has a different vibration. So just imagine if you went into the hospital or the doctor's office to get an EEG for the brain, it would be very different than an EKG for the heart. And so what we show are different parts of the body. And just as those tests would show different waves going up and down for the heart versus the brain, that's what we find in human design, that each of these vibrates differently. When they're colored in, they're vibrating in a consistent way, and they have a consistent energy about them, and that's what people feel from us. So when I walk into a room, people might feel my head and my ajna going, you know, all the time, or they might feel the sacral, which is the big red square, which shows that I have a lot of energy, or the G, which is about direction and self-love. Those are energies that people might feel from me. Whereas for other people, I'll just go back to yours for a second. If we look at this will center that you have, the big the red triangle there, that shows willpower and will will energy, or and sometimes perhaps ego from some people. So this is a different kind of energy. And also you have the throat energy, Evakarin, which allows you to speak in a way that's very distinctive and perhaps powerful at times, and can be heard quite easily from other people. So these energy centers each vibrate in a different way, and they exhibit the energies that we feel in our bodies, and they're consistent. The white centers are less consistent. So those centers that are colored in are more like energy, or more like satellites putting out energy, and or energy transmitters, if you will. And then the ones that are white are like receivers. So think of them as like you're taking in energy. So in those white centers, I take in energy from other people. Wherever it's white on my chart, I'm taking in energy. So for example, with the open solar plexus on the right side of the graphic, I'm taking in emotional energy from other people. So if I go to a wedding, for example, I would be having a good time because I'm taking in the happy energy from everyone else. And then if I went to a funeral, for example, I might be very upset or feeling the sadness that other people are feeling. When I leave the place, then I'll feel okay again. But basically when I'm there, I'm taking in the energy of everyone else around me, and I amplify it. So in fact, other people are happy, I'm even happier. Some people are sad, I'm even sadder. And so it feels actually twice as much as other people are feeling. So it's pretty, these are inconsistent energies in our charts.
I can recognize exactly what you're saying. And I've been wondering, like when my kids are ending school before summer,
mm-hmm.
And they're standing there, all the parents together and singing together the ending
mm-hmm.
song. It's like, I always start to cry, and I cannot understand why.
It's
now
because
I do.
Yeah, and it's because even though those other parents who might be emotional are not crying physically, they're still feeling a little sadness, right? So you're picking up
just being moved. No, I'm not sad, but moved.
Yeah,
moved.
Yeah,
yeah.
Mm-hmm. And you're picking that up from other people as well.
Yeah, and
so it's your own, but it's also other people's. But for you and me, we're both open emotionally. We're pretty even keeled otherwise, right? If we're by ourselves, working, doing our work, doing chores, whatever, we're pretty even keeled, right? Not too high, not too low. But those people who are colored in on that emotional solar plexus, they have an emotional wave that goes up and down all the time. And for some people, it's rather erratic. And for some people, it's pretty mild. And so if you know which you are, it just helps. It helps to know. And some people might suspect that they've been emotional all their lives, when really it's the people around them who have been emotional. Right. So would you like me to say a little bit about the 5 energy types?
Yes, please.
Okay.
I have someone here asking to hear about the projector because she is one.
Okay.
But so take it in the order you like.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Why don't I start, since you are an open sacral, and the projectors are open sacrals. I'll start with those 2 types. So in human design, there are 5 different energy types, and they're each they're not equally spread out. So I'll tell you the percentages of people as well. So we'll start with Evakarin, who happens to be a manifester. Manifestors are here to and they're only about 8 or 9% of the population, so that's relatively small percentage. But they have that sacral open, which means that red square for Evakarin is white, and so is it for the projectors. And the difference is
you can open up my chart if you want, if you easier maybe to see.
Thanks. So this is white on the chart for Evakarin in the sacral area. So so manifestors are here to get things done. They're here to start things. They're here to start companies or not-for-profits or projects in the community. They're here to basically have an idea, to get it started, and then hopefully to delegate it to other people, or to open it up to other people in some way. And so examples of this would be people who start companies or not-for-profits, and then allow it to grow, but then also delegate the tasks to other people so that they can allow it to grow further. And manifestors don't have a sacral, so they don't have that consistent energy that some people have, but they do have a voice, and they can be heard quite easily and sometimes quite vociferously with a lot of energy behind the voice. They're the ones who can definitely yell across the playground or across the field so that they can call their children or coach a game or things like that. And the next type of projectors are about 20% of the population. They too would have that sacral or second square up from the bottom open on their chart. That would be white, but they don't have a voice. They might have it colored in, but they don't have a voice that's motorized, as we call it, or connected to a motor. And so they might be more quiet, they might be more introspective, but projectors are definitely here to be wise and to guide and direct the energy of other people. They're here to basically have all the answers for the rest of us. I suspect that a lot of the younger children who are coming in are projectors. In fact, I know a number of them are. I think the percentages are actually rising in terms of projectors on the planet because we definitely need them. We don't need the worker bees as much, and I'll talk about those in a second. We need people who can have the answers to a lot of problems. Now, the funny thing about projectors is that you have the answers for everyone else, but you may not have the answers for yourself. So you always have to actually wait for the invitation to be invited into something for any big decisions in your life. Your decision-making strategy is actually to wait for the invitation. And I'll just go back to the manifestors for a second. Your decision-making strategy, Evakarin, is to have the idea in your head and then inform other people about what it is. And manifestors are the only ones who can actually have the idea in their head and then just go do it once they've informed other people. For projectors, it's best to wait for the invitation for anything big in your life. So like career or relationships or moving somewhere, things like that. So the next type are generators and manifesting generators. Those are two different types. They're each about, well, together they're 70% of the population. So people like me with this red sacral square filled in are the majority of the population on Earth. And we are the ones who actually have a lot of energy, get a lot of work done. And that sacral is all about work and life force. It's basically about doing the work and having the children. And so that life force allows us to kind of go and go and go. So we're the type who can get up in the morning, work for 10 or 12 hours, feed the kids, go to bed, get up the next day and do it for 50 years. And so we have no problem with doing a job for 50 years. Now, the good news is that we don't have to do something for 50 years anymore, that we get to decide what we want to do. And so we don't have to be the farmers or the factory workers or the laborers that came in the last century, right? We get to decide what we're going to do and do something that we really enjoy, something that really brings us, that's passionate for us, or that really brings contentment and fulfillment. And the same thing with the other types, of course, but with the generators and manifesting generators, we have that energy to go and go and go and get a lot of things done, and perhaps have a number of different careers, a number of different hobbies, a bunch of kids and grandkids, and we're kind of taking care of the whole family, feeding everybody and the community as well. So it's kind of a big kind of energy. We get a lot done. It doesn't always mean it's the right stuff. It doesn't always mean it's fulfilling. With human design, you get to kind of get some of those answers so that you can do things that are more fulfilling for your life. And the difference between the generators and the manifesting generators is that the generators have that sacral filled in and either have the throat white like mine is, or have it colored in, but it's not connected to a motor. Manifesting generators do have a voice. They have a voice like the manifestors.
So when you say it's connected to a motor, what do you mean by that?
So there are 4 different motors, and so the throat would be connected to one of the motors. So the motors are and I don't know if you can see my pointer moving around.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So the motors would be either the will center, like you had, Evakarin, or the emotional solar plexus, or connected into the sacral, or finally into the root. These are the 4 motors. And if people have their throat connected to any one of those, then they'll be either a manifesting generator, or if the sacral is not filled in, they'll be a manifestor. But that's only about 40% of the population. People, I'd like people to know that most people don't have a voice, don't have much of a voice. And so we really should be waiting for other people to ask us questions and invite us into conversations, and not pushing forward, because that just doesn't feel right for us, and it doesn't feel right for the other people. But manifestors and manifesting generators can talk to anybody. They can make the referrals. They can make the ask the questions, make the introductions, and do all that good stuff. And so the rest of us really depend on the manifestors and manifesting generators.
That's interesting, because I had an issue with my voice for a long, long time, where my voice was weak. So I had some, I didn't feel confident about speaking.
Mm-hmm.
So that is one of the things that you showed me so I feel more confident that is my path to actually speak.
Oh, great. Good.
Yeah.
Good. So and then the last type I'll just mention real quick is only 1% of the population, those are reflectors. And the reflectors have, if you can imagine, every single center on this chart is white. And so the reflectors literally are here to reflect the energy of each person that they come in contact with. And when it's fun for the other person with the reflectors are actually very popular because it's almost like we're in a mirror. It's like we're seeing ourselves. It's like we're feeling our own energy. And that actually feels good to the person on the receiving end. For the reflector, if they feel good in their community, if they're energetic and they're healthy and they're happy, then it's a good place for them to be. And if they're not, then it's really best for them to move. But they literally are here to reflect the health of the community.
My youngest daughter, she's a reflector.
Oh, I forgot. Right.
Yeah. So when I saw this, I asked her how she is with different kinds of people, and she could see that she was like a chameleon, changing depending on the people she was with.
Definitely. Yeah, that's very true. Interesting. So are there any questions in the chat? Did that answer the projector's question?
No, not anymore. If you have any questions, you can just add it. I'll keep track of it.
Okay. All right, great. So the next thing I usually let people know about are the benefits of human design and really what you can expect. So I'll stop sharing the screen now. So from human design, once we know ourselves, it's a lot easier to understand other people, right? But I think, especially now, and what we're all going through around the world, between the pandemic and the social injustice that's being exhibited, and the unfortunate economic challenges that everyone's going through, human design is a way to, it's not a fix-all, but it's certainly a way to find out more about yourself so that you can be centered and grounded in this time, so that you know who you are, so that you understand your values at a really deep level, and so that you're able to know really what you're here for. Because some of us are going to be going through changes in our jobs or in our careers or with our families, and there are lots of different ways you can handle that. I like to help. I've been actually hearing from a number of people that this is a way to help them feel more grounded and centered during this time, because then they know what they want to do next and how they can do it. And it's not so esoteric, really. It's a lot more pragmatic. Would you agree, Evakarin?
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like airy-fairy type of stardust, right? This is, and it's not, what do they call it? Predictive. In astrology, it's not like that. It's really very grounded in terms of what you can do pragmatically with your business, with your family, with your relationships, right? There are different ways that you can handle your relationships once you know who you are and what you're about, versus how you talk with and work with other people. So
one of the things that made me curious was that I could see what my purpose was. I mean, on a deeper level in human design. Can you talk something about that?
Sure. So we actually look at purpose in a few different ways in the chart, but I can definitely talk to somebody about, not knowing them at all, as you know, I really didn't know you much before we started talking, that there are themes in the chart. And so the themes have to do with, again, with the gates or whatever's colored in on your chart. But it's a combination of your incarnation cross, which is a story about your life that you're here to live. It's also a combination of your Chiron return, which has two themes to it, which allows you to see kind of what you're here to learn in those first 50 years and
would you
what you're
mind,
here to teach.
Would you mind open up my chart and just
Sure.
give that as an example? I think that's easier for people to understand.
Sure.
And then I get it repeated.
Okay. Okay, great. So can you see your chart now?
Yes.
Okay, great. So yes, thanks. So the if we're looking at the if we're looking at the under design and personality, by the way, are all the black numbers in the column, and personality comes in, these gates come in at birth. So it's the exact time of birth. And then under design, these are all the red numbers, and for the red numbers, they come in 3 months prior to birth. And so we look at a combination of these. The top 4 on the chart, the 26, 45, 47, and 22 make up your incarnation cross. And for you, it's called I'm going down here, the right angle cross of rulership. So truly, you're here to be a leader. You're here to be someone who has integrity, who can basically command a room, and who has a lot of charm and grace. And so just putting those together in a story, it becomes the right angle cross of rulership. And I can talk to people about what that is in terms of a number of different statements, and pulling those stories together. And then if we go to the bottom of the 2 columns, we see the 63 and the 37. That's what we call your Chiron return. That occurs every 50 or so years. And for you, it's the 63 and the 37. So those themes are what we look at. For you, it has to do with community and asking questions. Basically, the beginning of the hypothetical theorem, where you're asking questions. Does this make sense? Does this make sense? And then applying those to the community. So, as we said in your chart, Evakarin, it's the kind of thing where you're helping other people to ask the questions they need to ask about the traumas that they've experienced, and then apply that to how they can improve their life. And the community, the 37 has to do with peace and harmony and community. And so pull those all together, and basically you're helping people to improve the peace and harmony in their lives by asking questions. Does that make sense?
I mean, that's what I do. That's really amazing.
So that's the way, that's the way we talk about it. And I have to say that there have been, I can't think of one person who didn't agree or have there wasn't anyone for whom it didn't resonate somehow. Because what happens with especially with the life purpose down there, or the Chiron return, is that usually it's either something that people are aware of now and they're actually doing, or it's the kind of thing that they wanted to do when they were 20 and they just never got to it, or they did something else, or their parents wanted them to do something else. And so that's actually another important thing within the charts, is that what happens with the white centers is that we take in everybody else's energy around us, especially our teachers and our parents and our siblings and our friends, and we think that we have that energy, but we call that conditioning. So we might get conditioned. For example, I got conditioned at an early age to think that I was emotional, and it wasn't me who was really emotional. I wasn't the drama queen. It was really everybody else around me who was emotional. In fact, I was in a family of 8. Everybody except for one brother was emotional. So 6 people were emotional and 2 of us weren't. And the 2 of us would go hide out sometimes because we couldn't really take it. And so now that I understand about human design, I can see where that would come from. But I was conditioned at an early age to take in a lot of emotional energy. And I suspect a lot of people are. Yeah.
I have another question here. Not sure what I am. How do I find out?
Find out what the
energy
is.
Type.
So you can go to my website, which is called Living by Human Design. And the charts there are created for you for free. They're always free. You can get yours or your spouse or your partner or any of your children, and I'll be happy to send those charts along. And then you'll find out your energy type. You'll get a PDF of your chart, just like you can see on here. And also you'll get access to the videos and a description of your energy type.
I'll add a link when we're finished
Oh, great. Thank you. Yeah. So that's livingbyhumandesign.com. And the book is called Getting to Know You. I wrote that last year, and Getting to Know You is literally about getting to know a little bit more about your energy type, but more in terms of how human design can help you in your career, with your relationships, with parenting, with your spirituality, with any areas of your life, and how it might make a difference. It is more of an overview. It's not like the book Evakarin probably looked at first. The other human design books that are out there are more like reference books where you can look up exactly what's going on. Mine's a little different in that it's.
It was difficult because I couldn't put it in a context. I mean, in the other book, the first book I had.
Yeah, and so what I tried to do is put it in context. That's exactly it.
Yeah.
Perfect. So how can it help you in your life, and why would you even care?
Yeah.
But basically, we're all perfect. We're, at least in human design, we believe we're born perfect. And we believe that there's, and it's not a belief system per se, but as we look at the chart, we can see the potential for the child. And by the way, you can get a chart for a baby. And that's the other reason I like this, because for a lot of other personality assessment tools, you have to wait until the child is old enough to answer the questions themselves, right?
Yeah.
Because they're all question-based. With human design, we don't have to wait for that. In fact, it's always happy for me when I see there's a new baby and they want to get their chart, because this was originally created, at least Ra says, that Ra Uru, who created it, said that it was created for the children. Basically, we've created it so that we can communicate with the parents, who can then communicate with their children, right? So that when you find out your energy type and their energy type, and you know how you're making decisions and how they should be making decisions, you can then use that to help them make decisions and understand why they're making decisions a little bit differently than you. Because Evakarin, as you know, in any family, the parents like to think that their children are like them, but usually there's one or two like them, and the rest are all different. And so the children who are different don't necessarily benefit by the parents' ideas about how life works. They have a little bit different way of thinking about it. And so it's just a way of understanding the children so that you can help them to live their best life.
Yeah, I have 5 children. 2 are manifestors, 2 are projectors, and 1 is a reflector. So no one in my family was meant to clean the house. And then I'm married to a generator, so thank God for that.
Yes. Good for you. You married well.
Yeah.
You needed a sacral there to do the work.
Yeah.
No, that's a good thing. That's a good thing.
He can
but just understanding that it makes a difference, right? It's just awareness. That's all it is. It's just awareness. It's just being aware that somebody, I happen to be somebody who likes to do things at different times of the day, and it doesn't matter to me what time I eat. There are other people who have to eat on a schedule, and really their bodies prefer that they be on a schedule. And so just knowing that about a child, just knowing that they really prefer a schedule, we say, just generically, people say, oh, well, children need to be on a schedule. Well, not every child needs to be on a schedule. Some kids need to be on a schedule and other kids don't. And then other kids.
Such a relief to know these things.
Yeah. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just who they are. And so if parents know that, it's a lot easier.
I'm just going to ask,
for example, when you were a little willful child, probably, because you had that will center, and your parents may or may not have understood that.
Yeah. Yeah, right.
You were going to do what you were going to do, right?
Yeah.
And then other kids are very acquiescent. They'll say, oh, okay, mom, whatever,
Yeah.
And they're willful.
I'm just going to ask if anyone has any more questions.
Okay.
So please add them in.
Okay.
Is there anything else you want to share, or do you feel that we have covered the basics?
Would you say most of your client or most of your group is are parents?
I guess most of them, but I'm not sure. Well, actually, 3 of those who are watching don't have kids, as far as I can see.
Well, I don't have children either, but I just always find parents are interested to know, but really everybody's interested to know. I don't know if you noticed, Evakarin, but you have this, what we call the head and the ajna, the yellow and the green triangles are both filled in, and mine happen to be both filled in also. That's only 30% of the population. Half of the population is white up there. They're completely white. In fact, let me see if yeah, Albert Einstein. So Albert Einstein had completely white head and ajna. He's very open. He did have a lot of ideas, and, and he could rationalize, and he had opinions. Those are the three gates that are colored in up there. But he was completely open as a child. And so it was a little difficult for him to learn. He had to come up with a learning style. And I don't know if you've heard the story, but when he was 4 years old, he was sent home from preschool. And the teacher said, this child will never learn. You should probably put him in some kind of a very special class, and don't ever send him back to this school. And so at 4 years old, Einstein's mother realized that she had a special child, but she really didn't think he was stupid, as the teacher did. She thought he was very bright, and she was able to work with him and understand him. So I would just encourage anyone who either has this open head and ajna, or who knows a child or somebody else who has this open head and ajna. There's nothing wrong with having it open. It's completely fine. Most brilliant people do have it open. And what it's about is being able to take in so many different ideas and really create a lot of different ideas. But they do start out with their own learning style. And whether it's a parent or a teacher, or they figure it out on their own, they have to figure out that learning style to be able to progress. And so there's nothing wrong with kids if they have this open, but they need to learn, figure out their own learning style to do well. And so some kids find it out quickly.
That's something for the school system to know.
It is. And some kids find it out quickly. Some parents help their kids find it out, but others don't realize it. I mean, I talk to clients all the time who don't realize it until after college, or they go back to graduate school, or they find something that they really want to do, and they figure out their learning style, and then they're able to really progress and excel at it. So. So it's fun to see that, because, yeah.
I have some, we humans change over time. Could this chart be outdated because we've done a lot of work on ourselves over the years?
That's an interesting question. And we hopefully have all done a lot of work on ourselves over the years, but no, it doesn't change unless you've had a near-death experience, perhaps, or have been meditating for 30 years. The chart itself doesn't change. The birth chart is always the same. What's changed is you. And so this is the nature part of the chart is your nature. The nurture is what happens after we're born. And so I'm always able to talk about it in a way that allows people to see where they are still in touch with the information that was there from birth, and then where it's progressed. Because every gate that we have on here, every number that's on here, we think of as having 3 different levels. So there's kind of the lower, or let's say the average, the medium way of thinking about it, the lower side of it, which might be kind of the shadow side, and then the upper side, which we think of as the gift and the passionate side. And so what I think we move through are those 3 phases for each of the important gates in our chart, but the chart itself doesn't change.
Okay, great. Then I have another comment. Thanks, great to hear that part regarding our children. Human design helps me a lot to raise my manifesting generator, projector mother. That's my friend who has taught me a bit about human design.
Great. Yeah, and it's a process. You get the awareness. I talk when people decide that they want to have a session with me. We usually talk for 2 hours or sometimes more, because it's really all about you, and it's very interesting. I like to tell people that if they came here with me on the beach, we could sit down with a margarita for 10 hours and talk about your chart. It's that there's that much information in the chart. So it's a process. You'll become aware over time. I'll give you the information, all the pieces you need, but then basically you will go off and be experimenting day to day, right? And finding things out. And it does take sometimes a while to kind of get through all the processes, but or the experiences, right? So you'll just see that you're experiencing things in different ways and say, oh, that's interesting. I'm reacting that way to this person. And I never realized that before.
Yeah. This is fascinating, totally new to me. So,
well, so I invite anyone who doesn't have a chart already to come to my website, livingbyhumandesign.com, to get a chart, and then we'll take it from there.
Yeah.
And
so maybe
get
you
the book.
Could open up your website. I think that could be a good idea.
Sure.
So they can see how it looks like and
yes,
find it easier.
Just a second. I didn't have it open. Thank you for reminding me. So this is the website, and so it's livingbyhumandesign.com, and you can just click on in the menu, just click on free human design chart, and then you'll be taken to a page that has you fill in your information, your birth information and your email address, and then just click submit, and I'll send you the chart within a few hours, usually, sometimes up to 12 hours. They're run manually. They are done on a software program, and then I'll create a PDF and send that to you along with the description of your energy type.
Okay. So. Cool.
And then I have videos, so you can go in to see the videos. And
so that is to know a bit more about that. Oh, that's Rita.
Yes, and there's Rita.
Yeah.
And there are other charts or other videos in here, and other descriptions of the different energy types, and other questions, frequently asked questions about being emotional and willful and things like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I would suggest that you all go and do that because it's fascinating. And buy the book. It took me a week or so to get it from Adlibris, which is the Swedish version of Amazon.
Yeah. So yeah, it's on Amazon. You just either type in Karen Flaherty or Getting to Know You, and it'll come up. There is Kindle, paperback, and audiobook.
Yeah. So what I would suggest, if you're Swedish, everyone in the group is Swedish, but anyway, to go to amazon.de for Germany.
Oh, okay.
Because it goes quicker, and there's no extra tax on it. If you go to amazon.com, you have to pay tax.
Okay, great. Good information. Thank you.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, and it's available all over the world. So
yeah.
I'll figure out a way.
Cool.
But that's good information. So
great service. Yeah. I think so too. To get the free chart.
Yeah. And it is free for anyone or any number of charts that you'd like to get. So I'm happy to run them, especially for the children. I just find that it helps parents to know a lot about their children, or more about their children, and to answer their questions and how to make decisions.
And also good to know about you as a parent as well.
Yeah. Yeah, and I always suggest that the parents find out about themselves first, and then we can talk about their children.
Yeah. Yeah, cool.
Just as we did with you.
Yes. Right. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome. I should.
Is there anything else you want to add?
Just that, I encourage people to find out more about it. It's a different modality. It is relatively new, but it is something that really gets to the heart of who you are, and does. I don't like to compare it to other things, but I found it to be the most informative and confirming information that I ever got about me. And I've been doing it. I've known about it for about 11 years now, and so I continue to learn every day about myself and my clients. So it's been a joy.
Cool.
So I hope that for everybody.
So thank you so much.
Thank you, Evakarin. It's been a pleasure. Thanks so much for having me.